Monday morning. Bank transfer confirmation. No sender, no explanation. Just a number with 12 zeros in one sentence. Spend it all within 7 days or lose everything. You read it twice. You open the app. The number is real. $1 trillion sitting in an account registered to your name, earning $136 million in interest for every day you don't move it. The rules: no donations, no gifts, no financial instruments. Legal ownership of actual goods, assets, services. Every dollar leaves in exchange for something you now own. By 8 a.m., a man in a suit is at your door. Account liaison. Briefcase. He'll be there every morning. You'll stop noticing him by day 3. First instinct: property. Always property. A $300 million ranch in Aspen, a waterfront compound in Palm Beach, a villa on the French Riviera that hasn't changed hands since it belonged to a Belgian king. You call the agents. Everyone answers on the first ring. That's the first thing you notice about having $1 trillion. Not the number, the ring count. By noon, you've signed on 80 properties across 12 countries. By the time you finish the last contract, you can't remember what the first 3 looked like. The desensitization takes about 6 hours. Luxury goods. Patek Philippe's private sales team, Audemars Piguet, a Christie's specialist who moves pieces that never reach public auction. By midday Tuesday, you own more Patek Philippe complications than Patek Philippe's own museum. The watches are in a vault. You haven't asked which vault. You own every Bugatti La Voiture Noire in existence. One car, $18 million, done in 11 minutes. Every Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute currently available. You are buying entire annual production runs. By the end of the day, you own more rare hypercars than any private collection in recorded history. Jewelry, rare wine, whiskey, entire categories you didn't know existed 8 hours earlier. Private jets. Every top-tier G700 and Global 7500 available globally, gone. Brokers in Fort Lauderdale, Geneva, Singapore, Dubai working simultaneously. By mid-morning, you own more private jets than the 3 largest charter companies combined. You note that fact. You move on. 43 super yachts. Monaco, Miami, the Maldives. 3 Mediterranean ports your assistant reads from a list. Combined crew requirement, roughly 4,000 people. You have become a maritime employer. That problem is for next week. End of day 2, $25 billion spent. $975 billion remaining. Interest accrued while you were buying, $272 million. 2 full days, less than 3% of the money moved. You stop buying things people want. You start buying things the world runs on. Farmland, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. Institutional-grade holdings that trade like financial assets, so cash transactions close fast. By early afternoon, you're the effective owner of farmland the size of a small European nation. Water rights follow: California, Arizona, Colorado. Agricultural operations across 3 states now depend on whoever manages your estate. Your assistant reads that sentence aloud. You don't respond. Gold. You tell the commodities desk you want $50 billion in physical bars. The desk goes quiet. Then, that's roughly 15% of annual global production. You tell them to proceed. The price moves 8% while your orders execute. Every person on Earth who already owned gold got slightly wealthier because you decided to buy that afternoon. Art. Private viewing, not an auction. 47 major works, no visible price tags until you ask. You buy 26 of them, not because the others are inferior, but because your advisor says these 26 have the fastest transfer times. You're not collecting, you're clearing inventory. Then all 800 private islands listed globally. You sign for an unnamed 42-acre rock off Norway, no fresh water, accessible only by boat. With the same signature and the same speed as a Fijian island with its own airstrip. The price difference is $40 million. The signature is the same. An assistant runs the numbers on island management. Combined, you now require roughly 6,000 staff to maintain the properties, crew the yachts, and keep the lights on. You don't have 6,000 staff. You don't have any staff. That is a problem that costs money to solve, which technically helps. You tell someone to start hiring. End of day 4, $120 billion spent, $880 billion left. The gap is not closing. Someone on your team says it. You could end world hunger. You can't donate, but you can buy. The big 4 grain traders, ADM, Bunge, Cargill, Louis Dreyfus, move roughly 90% of everything the world eats. Wheat, corn, soy. You make cash offers for all 4 simultaneously. Your team contacts every major fertilizer producer and every company holding significant seed patents. Within 48 hours, you are, on paper, the sole landlord of the global calorie. Then you try to move the food. You own the grain. You don't own the trucks, the roads, or the ports. You try to route supply into regions with active food insecurity and hit a wall. The largest ports can't absorb the volume. Shipping coordinators talk about backlogs measured in months. State-owned ports go under national security review the moment your name appears on a filing. You try to buy those too. Same answer, different country. World hunger isn't a shortage of food. It was never a shortage of food. It's a shortage of functional roads, stable governments, and supply chains not being disrupted by conflict. None of that has a price tag. None of it closes in 7 days. You didn't end hunger. You made grain more expensive for a week. The food is sitting in silos. The problem was never the food. End of day 5, $200 billion spent, $800 billion left. You try to buy a country. Argentina is carrying roughly $400 billion in national debt, IMF obligations, restructured bonds, renegotiated so many times the paperwork fills rooms. You put a cash offer on the table, full debt clearance in exchange for special economic zone authority over the port of Buenos Aires. The government signals it wants the deal. Of course it does. The IMF calls within 4 hours. The US State Department calls within 6. Not to negotiate. To make clear this isn't happening. Money can buy a government's attention. It cannot buy sovereignty because sovereignty isn't something governments control alone. Other nations get a vote. Those nations will not allow a private individual to hold port authority over a major South American trade hub. You try 3 smaller nations. The wall is the same each time, just different accents on the other end. Every offer gets blocked before the paperwork reaches anyone with a pen. The interest kept running during those calls. Another $136 million, right on schedule. End of day 6, $210 billion spent, $790 billion remaining. $790 billion left. The countries are blocked. You stop trying to own things that require diplomats. Public companies don't need a government's approval, they just need a buyer. Your team begins executing block trades across the S&P 500. Not one company, all of them. The strategy is mechanical. Start with the largest by market cap, work down. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia. You aren't doing hostile takeovers through the normal process. You're buying enough shares in a single session to force a majority position before anyone can convene a board meeting. Securities law requires a 20 business day window for a formal tender offer. You don't have 20 days, you have hours. So you don't file, you just buy. The first $50 billion moves cleanly. The market absorbs it the way a river absorbs a stone, a ripple, then nothing. Then the pattern becomes visible to the algorithms. Every major trading desk on Earth is watching the same tape. Someone is buying everything, not rotating, not hedging, buying. All of it, at any price. The S&P 500 rises 4% in 40 minutes, then 9%, then 14%. You're not buying stocks, you're becoming the price. Every share you purchase costs more than the last because your own orders are the news the market is pricing in. The trillionaire premium. You spend $100 billion and acquire less than you would have if you'd spent $40 billion an hour earlier. The math is running in reverse. By mid-morning, the NYSE circuit breakers trip. Trading halts for 15 minutes. It resumes. You keep buying. It halts again. The SEC issues an emergency statement. Unusual coordinated acquisition activity across multiple sectors. They don't name you. They don't need to. Your team's lawyers are already on a call with the commission before the statement finishes loading. The EU follows within 90 minutes. Euronext suspends trading across Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, and Lisbon. The Frankfurt Exchange goes next. The Tokyo Stock Exchange issues a precautionary pause citing anomalous cross-border capital flows. You have broken 4 stock exchanges before noon on the last day. The SEC doesn't freeze your account. They freeze the markets. There's a legal difference, and it matters. They can't stop you from having money, but they can stop the venues where that money moves. Every exchange you haven't reached yet goes on preemptive halt. The London Stock Exchange, Hong Kong, Sydney. Regulators on 6 continents are on the same call, and the word they keep using is systemic. Not illegal, systemic. You are a weather event, and they are closing the airports. By the time trading resumes, partially with per-account acquisition caps written into emergency session rule changes that will take years to formally codify, you've moved $680 billion into equity positions across 340 companies. You own controlling stakes in 14 of the 30 largest corporations on Earth. The combined market cap of your holdings, at the inflated prices your own buying created, is listed at over $1.1 trillion. On paper, you are worth more than when you started. The number is meaningless. You can't sell without collapsing the price you created. End of day 7, $920 billion spent, $80 billion remaining. The markets are closed. The interest never stopped. Roughly $720 million earned across the full 7 days. You ran out of open exchanges before you ran out of money. You failed, not because you ran out of ideas, but because the world ran out of things it could sell you fast enough. Physical goods with immediate title transfer cap out somewhere around $100 to $110 billion. Everything above that either takes time you didn't have, doesn't exist as private property, or moves in price so fast when you buy it that the purchase undercuts itself. The richest people alive don't spend their money because the supply runs out long before the money does, and the money that can't be spent earns while you sleep. The earning is faster than the spending.